Hey guys, welcome to the first ever edition of the Broomball Canada's podcast named Between the Pipes. We are going to be your hosts through this series. I'd like to introduce Chad. Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself. He's our co-host here.
You betcha. Chad Schneider from Saskatchewan. I've been playing broomball since I was 14 years old. Haven't played broomball, I guess last year was my last year, but other than that, I've been playing up till then. Sustained an injury a while back, but I was still able to play. I'm also the president of the Saskatchewan Broomball Association out here in Saskatchewan, and I'm also a member of the Canadian Broomball Federation as the director of marketing promotion. And we're here to have a great time, start something new. Hopefully we can make this as pleasant and fun and exciting as possible.
Sounds like a good idea. My name's Cameron. I've been playing broomball since I was 11 years old, so 15 years now. I currently play for Les Boys intermediate team out here in Ontario. I also coach a juvenile boys team, the Warriors. I coach a juvenile girls team, Thunder. And I play different positions, goalie, forward, defense. But my love has always been playing goalie, so I always fall back to that. Just love everything about broomball, playing, coaching, whatever it is, doing a podcast. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
So who we got with us today, Chad?
Well, in honor of the Thank You Coach Week by the Coaching Association of Canada, we brought on some coaches that are known throughout our sport. We've got Mr. Steve Norman and Mr. Les Frazier with us, joining us on this podcast, and we're going to introduce them and get them to kind of introduce themselves a little bit. Steve, he was a longtime player and a coach of the men's national team, the Ottawa Nationals, and Les Frazier, he has an extensive background in coaching, whether it be in hockey or baseball or broomball. He loves coaching. He's coached a lot of hockey in his time and a lot of high caliber hockey, and switched his love to broomball for his daughters when they started playing. And we'll get them on board with us, and we'll ask them a few questions and see what they have to say on the coach side of things.
Perfect. Let's get them in here. All right, Steve, Les, how's it going?
Good.
Doing well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us here today. Got lots of questions for you. Hope you're ready for it.
Okay.
Ready as I can be.
All right, well, here we go. We'll start with Steve. I guess we'll put you in the hot seat first.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so how did your broomball coaching career start, Steve, and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I started coaching. My sister-in-law played on an intermediate women's team back in the mid to late 90s, and they were looking for some help, so they asked me to come on board and give Don Sims at that time a hand to help coach. So that's where I got started, and then more seriously, whenever my children started and wanted to play the game, and I wanted them to learn to play the game the right way. So I figured I was in the game long enough. I thought that I had a pretty good understanding of what needed to be done and how it needed to be done. So myself and Kathy Robinson actually started the Finch Youth Broomball here in about 2000, I guess it was. So I got to where I am today with a lot of hard work and commitment. Had the opportunity to coach the same team that I played for, which has been a thrill. I got to work with some of the highest level of broomball athletes in the world, and has gone a long way to bring myself and my team's great success, and my absolute love for the game. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Very cool. Les, how about you?
I got started coaching my daughter. Actually, I come from a hockey background. I was fortunate enough to coach some fairly high level hockey, and my daughter played hockey up until bantam, and then there was actually no place for her to play at home. And Odessa is a big broomball hub in our province. So she started playing broomball when she was 13, and along with, I started helping Annette Gates actually coach the Bantam midget team back in 2003, I guess it was 2004 in there somewhere. And then I slowly, I ended up kind of taking over the midget and then the junior program, the girls program. And after my eldest daughter quit playing, I still kept on coaching the team. And I was fortunate enough to actually, my youngest daughter left hockey as well at midget, and I got to coach her through junior as well. And it was nice. We actually, for years and years, we had a very competitive program in Odessa, and had some success at nationals. Never won a gold, but we medaled a few times at nationals. So we pretty much went to nationals every year but 1 year for the 9 years I coached the junior team.
Right on.
Very impressive. So I know a lot of you guys, you were brought in by family and friends and stuff to get you started with coaching, but what do you guys love about coaching? Steve, let's hear your answer first.
Well, I think number one, Cam, Chad, Les, is teaching the young players the skills of the game and then watching them develop. It's something that's, it's very rewarding to be part of an athlete's, young or at an adult level, to watch them develop, respect for the game, respect their coaches. And it's really, really wonderful to see that, you reach these young players and adult players and carry these lessons that, go into life, to go into lessons into adulthood, on and off the ice. And it's I think there's a lot of life lessons that are learned on and off the ice with, the people, the teammates, their coaches, and that kind of stuff. So that's the one thing, for there. And number two, I would say this, probably applies to the higher athlete of juvenile or into the adult level. It's pushing and challenging those top athletes to be their very best when it matters. And to be part of that whenever when they win championships. And I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of the very top broomball athletes in the world, and be part of their success and our team's success. And it's to see their hard work be rewarded, very, very gratifying as a coach.
Yeah, for sure. I understand where you're coming from. I've only recently started coaching juvenile, but just to see the development of kids who start at a young age and when they progress to go on to men's or women's, it's very rewarding to see the changes.
Yeah, for sure.
Les, what about you? What do you love about coaching?
Steve pretty well. He summed it up, very well. It's I think along the same lines. It's very gratifying, especially coaching juvenile and midget players, to watch them progress on and off the ice. The job, especially coaching minor broomball, is you're not only there to help them progress in the sport, but you're also there to teach them some life lessons. Like respect for your opponents, respect for your teammates, officials, coaches, and it's very gratifying to watch them progress as a team. To work together as a team. Broomball, much like hockey or football, is one of the ultimate team sports there is. You can't, individual effort is not going to make the team successful. The individual might have some success playing as an individual, but it truly takes a team in broomball to have success as a team. And watching these young girls and women gel into a team has been very gratifying over the years.
And winning
For
is
sure.
a great thing, right?
What's that, Chad?
I said, and winning is always a great thing too, right? So I mean,
Yeah, I think I have a bit of a competitive edge, I would think.
yeah. No, and then let's stick with you. Like, so with that segue, that was great. I mean, like, but I guess you can tie the next question is to, well, what is your best memory of being a coach? And it doesn't have to be in Broome. I mean, you had a great coaching career as a hockey coach as well, correct?
Yeah, but you know what? My favorite memory is probably a broomball memory back when I believe it was 2011. I could be wrong, but off the year. But we had some very talented players, older players. I believe it was 2009. You know them, like Amber and Jacqueline, that whole group. Well, you know, Leandra, and there was quite an age gap between the next level of players. So when those older players left, I think pretty much everybody wrote us off, and those young girls, you know, they're, you know, 15, 16 years of age. We, you know, end up winning provincials. I think it was like 4 years in a row, all the way till they're older. And I believe the year we won the silver medal at nationals, we did not have a 20-year-old on that team. It was a really young team, and you know, they played as a team. No, they were a very tight unit. That was probably my proudest moment as a coach. You know, how they played a certain system and they all bought into it. There was no selfishness on the team. It was really gratifying. I think it was 2012, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's really cool to see a group of younger players that have been playing together for a couple of years, but they're not quite aged out. Because it really surprises people, because they'll go and they'll get close to the top or to the top, and everyone will be like, oh, this must be their last year. And you talk to them and, oh, you still have another year or two. And then it almost creates a dynasty in the sense that they've got a couple of years still to go and they can keep going.
Yeah, and they were, you know, even in our province, they didn't have I shouldn't say they didn't have. They had some competition, but you know, only one team, so to speak. And I was also very proud of them, the sportsmanship they showed through our year here in Saskatchewan. You know, of course, when you get to nationals, it's a level playing field. But at home here, I thought that, you know, the girls carried themselves on and off the ice very, very well.
Fantastic.
Well, Steve.
Les, just to follow up from you, it was 2012, and you did have a very good team that year, because I was coaching the Thunder that year, and we played against you guys in the final. So, yeah, you had a real good team, and you actually beat us in the round robin, and that was maybe a good eye opener for us in the end. So,
I'll switch you. You can beat us in the round robin. I can beat you.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, I looked at that question that V had forwarded to me about my best memory as a coach. And to be honest with you, I can't give you just one, but I did break it down into three. And they all are at national events. And the very first one would have to be in 2008. It was the third year of the Sting Juvenile Boys team, third year of their existence, and we won a bronze medal. And those players came through that Finch Youth program that I talked about earlier in the first question. And no, it was a pretty proud moment. We had a fairly young team. We had a couple pickups that were 19-year-olds, but outside of that, I mean, our team, that Sting Juvenile Boys team, started with 15 to 16-year-old kids. For 2 years, that's all we had, and just kept building and going from there. So that was a pretty special memory when I think back. 2013 Juvenile Nationals, gold medal with the Eastern Thunder in our hometown. Also, there was 5 of the graduating girls were the girls that I had started with as coach of that Thunder team. So that was kind of a special moment there. And then obviously in 2019, Senior Nationals, again in our hometown of Cornwall, won gold, able to coach my son and both my brothers. on a team that I used to play for. So that was, I couldn't pinpoint it to one, but those are probably the three most special moments that I have as a coach. Obviously all winning at some aspect, but for me, that's the three number ones right there.
Right. I mean, coaching as long as you have, and even less, even myself as a coach, like, I mean, it's so hard to pinpoint just one great memory, right? Like,
Yeah, it is.
when you've coached a lot of teams and a lot of high caliber teams, like, it is insane to try and just define one moment.
Exactly. I could probably come up with 5 or 6 more of them if I had to pretty easily, but.
Oh, yeah.
I thought for sure it was going to be something about coaching me was going to be your favorite, but
that was number 4, Cameron.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Those 3 are pretty good, I guess. So that's the upside about coaching. But what do you find hard about coaching? What is difficult in the aspect? Because you're a volunteer, so I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of times you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And there's definitely downsides to it. I know it's gotten hard for me at points. What is the thing that you find hardest, Steve?
I'm going to say number 1 is disciplining the athletes when it's necessary. And we've all played the game. We've all coached the game and are still coaching. And, you know, there's always a time and a place, even when you play, that you figured, you know, it's coming down. No, I'm going to get the wrath of the coach come down on me. And most likely was necessary or required for whatever happened at that particular time. But, you know, sometimes it's hard to get that athlete to understand why discipline has to happen for whatever the reason, whether it's not following the system or whatever the case may be. So I would say that's probably number 1. And then number 2 is convincing my players to buy into the team system. And you always get, you know, you're going to have a core group that's going to, yep, I like it. It's going to work, you know, and they go right away. And you're always going to get a couple that they're challenging that, and they don't understand why, or they don't want to understand why, or they think they have a better way. And you know what? As a coach, you implement a system with your other coaches and your you know, maybe your highest athletes that you have, and what you think your team is best suited to do to win. And the rest of the players have to buy into that, because like Les alluded to earlier, it's very, very much a team game. You're not going to win with just one superstar. He'll definitely help you win, but he's not going to win the games on your own. So I think that'd be the 2 things. You know, disciplining athletes when it's necessary, and then convincing players to play into a team system. And not everybody's system is the same. You know, a lot of them are built around, you know, what they have as athletes, you know, whether it's speed, whether it's ball control, whatever it is. So I would say it's those 2 things there for me.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with especially the second one. I notice coaching juvenile, there's different systems that every team will play, depending on if you have a young team that's speedy or you have an older team that's got a lot of size.
Yep.
But to get those kids to follow a certain system, or you design a play and you want them to use that, if one kid is too level or hard-headed and doesn't follow that system, then it can ruin the play for everyone else, and
sure.
creates a turnover, and
Yep.
it's bad news. I understand the difficulty in getting the especially the young ones, I find,
Yes.
to follow in that system. But
Systems. Systems. How many conversations have we had less on systems?
Oh, dozens.
Yeah.
Dozens and dozens.
Is that what you find hardest as well, Les, or do you have other difficulties on or off the ice?
Well, I think, you know, Saskatchewan, excuse me, we have a little bit a different situation than probably Quebec or Ontario, but I think, you know, before, you know, I had a very dedicated, disciplined group of young women, and then our numbers dropped off, and, you know, you recruit players as best we could to make a full roster. And I think the biggest problem I had was commitment. You know, when you only got, say, 16 players, and only 9 or 10 of them were fully committed, you know, to playing on a team that aspires to be, you know, in the national program, that made it very difficult to get, the other 5 or 6 players to buy in, and their parents at that age as well, right? They're still minors, and to get them to buy into, the commitment to practices and stuff. We had, some players missing practices and this and that, which makes it hard, to be able to compete at a national level if you don't have everybody committed. And then it's probably those same players, as Steve alluded to that some players just, they won't buy into a system because they don't feel it's for them. They have excuses, well, I play like this, or I like to do this. And sometimes it's hard to turn those kind of players around. The other people on the team will do it for you sometimes, but it's not like we're not in a position where, like it's, say, a AAA midget hockey club or a junior A hockey club where, you have 2 or 3 players won't buy in, you just send them home and bring 3 more up, It doesn't happen like that.
Speaking of hockey and commitment, have you had issues with players doing both sports, broomball and hockey?
Not so much hockey with the girls. I shouldn't say that. Yes, we had a couple over the years, but some of the school court sports interfered with broomball quite a bit. A lot of the better athletes that were, great in broomball were also very good in high school sports, basketball and volleyball, and that interfered a few times with us for, we don't have a league in Saskatchewan. We have 7 tournaments we can attend, including one in Manitoba, and the odd player wouldn't be able to come to all of them, which, kind of hurts you a little bit, but
yeah.
But I guess to answer your question, no, hockey wasn't a big interference with us.
Okay, I just noticed the biggest thing with commitment to our teams is hockey. Especially this year, we had I think 6 new players just join the sport of broomball to join our juvenile team, and they were all coming from hockey, but we're still playing hockey. And
Right.
It took a while for them to really commit to the team, but some of them this year are actually leaving hockey to go broomball full time, which is great. But it's definitely hard coaching at the juvenile level to get them to commit to all the tournaments, and where we have 2 leagues twice a week. So it's hard to get them all there with everything going on in a teenager's life. I can see where you're coming from for sure.
The one thing about broomball, like I've talked to my own daughters included. My youngest daughter didn't quit till she was, like I say, midget, but she looked at my older daughter, her older sister, traveled all across Canada playing broomball. She went to Europe for the worlds in the States. There's a lot more opportunity for these young women in broomball, than there actually is in hockey. If you look at it, if you're looking at for a competitive edge kind of thing. But
yeah, I agree. It's a small community, and there's a lot of opportunity, because to put a team into worlds, it's not like you really have to qualify. You can, if you have the money and you think they have the talent, you can go play wherever worlds happens to be that year, and it's always great broomball. I mean, I played the last one there in Minnesota, and heck, it was a great time, and I'll definitely be going back. And it's once they see that opportunity, the sport definitely grows on them, and you can see them veering more towards dedicating themselves to broomball, which is good.
Right on. Okay, well, next question. I guess, what is the biggest difference between coaching and being a player? Now, I know, Steve, you played, I've played, Cam's played, Les. I don't know if you really played broomball as a young kid. You were more a hockey player and got into hockey, but I mean, you can relate, I guess, regardless, even though you aren't really a broomball player. That's just
no, you're right. And but I noticed the biggest, I'd go back to my hockey coaching. The biggest thing, and Steve had alluded to this, a few questions ago. So you get a group of players together, and it doesn't matter how I played or the type of player I was. you know, the team you have in front of you, that, you know, after you've done your cuts or whatever, you have to coach that team. And a lot of times you have to put your personal preferences to the side to coach the team you have, because every team every year is different. You know, some years you got lots of speed, you got ball control, you have players that are great playmakers. You know, the next year you might have a team full of grinders, and you know, you got to work on playing well in your own end and just taking your chances on offense when you get a few. But so it's hard though, because, you know, everybody has their own way of thinking when it comes to any team sport. You know, what I would like to, you know, what I would want to do, you know, and you really got to take the eye out of yourself when you're coaching, you know, or else, you know, you're not going to have a lot of success trying to push your ideas onto people that just can't play like that.
Or don't have the abilities or the skills, right?
Exactly, or the mindset. I mean, look at Wayne Gretzky when he coached Phoenix. I mean, arguably the greatest player to ever put a pair of skates on. He could not, you know, he couldn't get through to his team how to play. You know, they tried playing, you know, that fast break. They tried skating through the neutral zone, you know, as a unit and stuff. It just wasn't the team he had. Then a guy like Dave Tippett comes in there, who was a grinder his whole life, comes in there and has great success with the exact same team. You know, it's hard. It's hard to,
Yep.
Coaching is hard, especially at an elite level.
And you're right, Les, right? You have to recognize the players' caliber and the team you got in front of you, right? Like, I mean, you have to adjust. And that's what makes, you know, coaching so unique and so fun, is being able to adjust on the fly and change things up at will. Like, your mind is always going. You always have to keep thinking, always got to be, you know, moving, being that one step ahead, right?
Exactly.
Steve, what do we?
Well, Chad, Les, Cam, for me, I don't have to say, and I thought about this question for quite a bit, and I really wasn't sure. And I thought, you know, I didn't find for myself a huge difference between a player and then moving into the coaching ranks. And I did both for quite a period of time. And I know when I played the game, I always considered myself a student of the game. I always was wanting to learn. No, I was never the fastest or the most skilled by any means on the team, but I would buy into the systems, the coaching. I would buy into the plays. I would buy into whatever. So I found that I found myself studying the game quite a bit so that I could be my best and put myself in the best positions and situations at any point in time in the game. And I find as a coach, no, I'm still doing the same thing. No, Les and Chad, you both talked about adjusting and on the fly and that kind of stuff. And you know, you're studying. When you're not coaching your own team, you're at the rink, you're watching other teams, and you're doing just little things to see, you know, how does our team fit with that, you know, style or that approach or that whatever, and try and make those small adjustments, or at least have them in your back pocket. So if you have to make them on the fly, that you can, and you're not, you know, not trying to dream this stuff up in the middle of a 40-minute game, because there isn't time for that stuff. So, like I said, for myself, not a real difference. Just because when I played, you know, I studied the game so that I could be the best, because I wasn't, you know, the highest skilled or the quickest, and then, you know, kind of carries that over into coaching at the juvenile and even at the adult level. Still, I mean, the game keeps changing. The game is way quicker now than it was when I played the game. Way quicker. It's not even a contest. I wouldn't even have been able to hold it, even considering myself, you know, always being in the right place at the right time. There's no way I'd have been able to keep up whenever I was playing at the elite level. The way the game has changed now at the elite men's level, it's not even close. It's just evolved, and I'm sure, Chad, you've seen that. It's just changed so much. It's crazy.
So much compared to when we played, right? Like, even playing as a juvenile, moving up, and then playing senior and coaching at the juvenile level now, and now even being at all these tournaments, even though I'm not coaching, but just being there as a rep for Saskatchewan, or, you know, on the board as a rep for the CBF. Like, it gets faster and quicker every year. And I mean, you can see that it's happening in all sports. It's not just broomball. It's right across the board, right? So I mean, it's you need to, be that much more better.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, the speed in the game is crazy. I see all these young kids coming up with the skill and the speed. Like some of these kids, like Xavier Leclerc or Ryan Wells, that I don't know how they can be so fast. They just are, and now I'm seeing those younger ones with that speed that are moving into the adult game, and we still have some of those players from the 80s that are still playing in some men's leagues, going against these kids who are running twice their speed. It's a different game out there for them, and everyone I've talked to has seen a difference, but they still enjoy playing with them. You still have a place if you're not the fastest out there. You can still use your skill and your ball movement and stuff to help your team, but speed is a very, especially with these new shoes out there, it's taking off on those Hagans is it's pretty fun. So next question, you guys, you both coach different levels. Les, I heard you say you coached midget bantam and then juvenile, and Steve, I know you've coached juveniles as well as men's and women's. What do you guys prefer? What has been your favorite level, and is there a level that you haven't coached that you would like to coach? Steve, let's start with you.
Well, Cam, Chad, that's a difficult question, and there's probably no right or wrong answer. But it's been a while since I coached juvenile, and even before that with peewees and bantams, and I come right up through the system whenever we had that Finch Youth program when we got it going. And I'm going to have to say probably the juvenile or the junior level. And one of the reasons is because I really remembered and enjoying the enthusiasm of the kids. And maybe not so much at the PB level, but when they get into that Bantam, 13 to 14, their minds are just starting to work. And you can just kind of feed them all kinds of plays and little tricks and little things, and they just feed off of that. And they just take it and you do it in a practice. The next thing you know, they're doing it in a game, and it's like, oh, yeah, they were really paying attention. And that enthusiasm and them wanting to learn and wanting to get themselves better and make themselves better probably gives me, a little bit of edge. I would say coaching juvenile or junior. But that being said, there's no better feeling than going to a national at the elite level, whether it's men or women, and working with, the highest level of athletes, blue ball athletes in the world, and then being part of their success. It's a pretty special feeling. And we talked about that a couple of questions ago. These questions all kind of tie in together a little bit when you think back and listen to the answers. So what level would I prefer? I say maybe the juvenile or junior level, only because you're watching them develop and learn and take that information you're giving them and go from there. But both equally exciting. So
I agree, Steve. Les, how about you? Do you prefer the younger ones? Have you coached anything other than the juvenile or the junior program? Have you coached any adults?
Yeah, I coached the women's team for I think 4 years, maybe 5. I'm not sure, but I've coached all 4 levels in Odessa, and I'm kind of like Steve. I love the juvenile level, whether it would have been men or women's. I enjoy watching it. Even, we practiced just after each other in Odessa, and even watching the junior boys. Years ago, I think Wally won with them in 08, I think, the national title.
09, I think.
9.
Was it 09?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember that year watching the boys, and of course my own team too. Watching them progress, it's so exciting. But I remember that year watching those young, like those juvenile boys, and it was unbelievable from October to March, how they gelled and the plays they were making. Like it was fun. I wasn't coaching a team, but I'd have to say that was pretty cool. Like that's probably why I like juvenile, because you don't get to see that in senior men's or women's. You know, you don't get to see players develop into like, you know, legitimate kind of stars. You know what I mean, in their own right, because they're already there when they get there for the most part. So I mean, there's room for improvement at all levels, but watching junior teams, you know, develop through the year is I really like it. You know, I enjoy that.
Yeah, I've only been coaching juvenile for a couple of years now, but even since I started, I remember we got a kid who was on the B team, the midget B team. The coaches that took him on didn't think he was the greatest. He got cut from the A team, sent down, and now he's the captain of our juvenile team. To see the improvement year after year is very cool.
Well, hard work pays off at that. It pays off at any level, but hard work and dedication in the junior program, you know, you can watch a player through their 4 years of it develop into such a good player, you know, with some hard work, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you which category I don't enjoy coaching, but definitely the juvenile and midget would have to be right there. Like I had a swing at midget, but juvenile is definitely probably would be right up there with mine as well. I agree. So, you know, you guys have both, like Les, you've pretty much exclusively coached women in broomball, and Steve, you've coached juvenile girls broomball and everything else. So what is actually different in coaching women? Like Les, you've coached guys in hockey, you know, you've done hockey teams, and Steve, you've obviously got a national senior men's team, like, you know, like, so, I mean, what do you find different in coaching women?
Two things, in my personal opinion. You know, the first thing with women, and this is not derogatory at all, but women bring everything to the dressing room and to the rink. You know, all their emotions come, everything. And, you know, guys can, you know, leave that at home. You know, they have a fight with their girlfriend before a hockey game. You don't got to worry about the guy, you know, looking like they're going to burst into tears through the game or, you know what I mean? Or else it doesn't seem to affect men the same way. Like women's personal lives, they bring it to the rink. And for whatever reason, I don't know, but I've really noticed that. And the other thing, you know, the second thing is, like, guys will put their trust in their coach a little more, you know, when it comes to system, power plays, penalty kills. You know, I remember, this is going back quite a ways, but I remember it was like 91 or 92 in Saskatoon, and we had put in a new penalty kill, and we had actually got it from someone that worked for one of the NHL clubs, that he had kind of come to, you know, camp and showed us some stuff, and we knew it would work. And a lot of the players couldn't quite understand it, but they did it. You know, they have that faith. Okay, we're going to play this system that's going to work. And when you're dealing with girls, I found that it takes a little bit more time. Sometimes there's stuff on the ice, like practices, I don't like standing around, but sometimes you have to stand around and explain every last detail, why we're doing this, what'll happen if we do this, because it seems like that the girls always, they have a lot of what ifs. You know, well, what if we do this and they do that? Whereas the guys aren't, for the most part, don't really do that. They're just going to play that system and put their faith, you know, in the people behind the bench, kind of thing. Whereas, so the women, you kind of really got to explain. They have to know why they're doing it and understand why they're doing it before they'll actually even give it a try. You know, that's just what I found so far. But I'm sure you have some other examples, Steve.
Steve, I guess that put Les just put you in the hot seat there.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with a lot of what Les has talked about. I made a couple notes here, and it's one thing that whether it's juvenile girls or even at the women's level is, that bringing that stuff to the rink, but they know how to hold a grudge. And something that happens today, whether it's in the rink or outside of the rink, man, years go by and there she is again. And I'm thinking, like, that was 6 years ago, and you're still going on about that. And that's one thing it stays in my mind, that they just don't let it go. They never let it go. But on a maybe a more positive thing, something that I've noticed coaching juvenile boys, juvenile girls, both men and women at the adult level, is that the women's team get way more pumped up and revved up before a game. In the dressing room, in the hallways, whatever, with music and dancing and singing. Like they just go, you would think you were going into a nightclub somewhere. It's unbelievable.
I agree with that.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that the men don't get themselves, but they do it in a way different fashion. It's entertaining, but as a coach, sometimes you can't be around. You have to kind of wait till all that's done before you come around when it's happening. But it's good to see their enthusiasm when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I would say that's the two things. They hold a grudge, and they wind themselves up way more than the boys and the men do before a game. So
Yeah, that's what you call that Rolodex in their head, Steve. Hey, like,
Yeah, I definitely agree with the excitement there, Steve. I know Thunder has their ritual before every game. They have to do their special thing before each game, and not allowed to go in the room until they've done their cheer. And it gets a lot more intense than the boys I coach, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the questions we have for you guys tonight. Anything you guys needed to say before we let you go?
Nothing for me other than just thanks for for asking and having the opportunity. And it was kind of cool to when V had sent me those questions, to kind of sit back and just kind of think about them for a little bit and put some answers to them, because there's probably questions that have been asked generally in the past, but not he never really gave a direct answer. So it was kind of cool for me to think back over the last 4 years of coaching and put some words to those answers. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no, it was good. Thank you for the opportunity. I didn't see those questions, but so I kind of did it off the cuff here. But
well, you did well, Les.
But no, I hope.
Hey, Les.
I hope we can grow the sport. What's that, Chad?
So let's be honest. I don't think you would have prepared very much anyway.
Probably you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't look like you're sitting in your office for this interview. So
anyway, yeah.
No, I'm on my way to Winnipeg. So.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but well, thank you very much, you guys, and let's all try and grow this sport somehow.
For sure.
Yes, thank you guys so much, and thanks for being a part of the first podcast of many, I hope, coming to you live from the goal line. Between the pipes, me and Cam,
cool,
ex-goalies from way back.
Exactly.
So
you bet. Yeah, well, we'll be doing one. Sorry, go ahead, Les.
I said you guys should call it the Puckbag Brothers.
We don't. Sorry, we don't use pucks. This is broom ball, Les.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching, everyone at home or listening. We'll be doing this once a month, so feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and see you guys on the next one.